Hello, and welcome to the Securus Firestarter. We're recording this on December 15th, 2014. And odds are, guys, this is going to be the last Firestarter for the year. So we're probably going to run a little bit long. We got a bunch of stuff to cover today. Hopefully on the a little more on the amusing side. Unlike last year, we didn't have the time to get me and Adrian together and beer, and Mike having beer in his place and all that kind of stuff. So it would have been fun, but holy crap, was it a busy year. So joining me as usual, first big bad Mike Rothman. Mike, how's it going today?
Very big. Actually, not as big this year.
No, you lost too much weight. What the hell are we going to call you?
I know. How am I going to intimidate people anymore? I'm not, I'm just
No,
small.
you never. Anyway, we won't go there.
Little bit. I'd be grumpy and I'd growl a little bit. Come on, man. You can't even give me a little bit of growling credit, boy?
You growl just like that fat chihuahua down the block. It's fine. It's just,
So I'm a little bit of a thinner chihuahua now.
now
Yeah,
you're
we just can't get over the whole marathon man thing. That's still just stuck in our minds. So
Yeah, I ran the half. I ran the half for Thanksgiving. It was good. It was good. I finished, and that's what it's about.
That is awesome. I thought I was going to be running potentially a full here pretty soon, but we'll see how that goes.
Oh, a little
Ooh.
plantar
Yeah.
fasciitis.
I don't know if that's what it is or not. I'm probably going to go in the doctor this week, but a weird sudden pain that it's not getting better fast enough for me to actually hit my goal raise. So, it's one of those things I know will go away. It's not that bad.
Yeah, you just gotta rest.
Like my other leg, which is totally fucked, and I'm paying all my attention to my other leg, and then that one gets hurt.
Beep.
Yeah, not sick.
Family recording, mogul.
Yeah, there you go.
It was a family recording.
It was. It was.
at least he's wearing shorts today. So
Yeah, we've got Adrian Lane here. But
hey, howdy, happy holidays. And yes, we're looking forward to this being the last Firestarter of the year. Need to take some time off and stay with the family and not travel anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, that would be good. All right, guys. So we'll do the end of year, like how the year was stuff a little bit later, but we thought we would jump into this one and go over security predictions. Not our predictions. Our predictions haven't changed since 2009, and I need to. I'm pulling it up on my side monitor here because it's probably worth. I think it is worth criticizing your own predictions. And so.
But we're going to trash somebody else's predictions today, which is even more fun.
2009 was before my time, so I can make fun of these with impunity.
Yeah. It might have been 2010, but they have never have overly changed. So I'll look those up. But Adrian, you found our predictions list. So which one do you want to pick first?
How about just the legal disclaimers? That was the biggest shock today. That two of the ones that we found, security predictions from major firms. Going out on a limb, talking about where the industry's headed and what the major challenges are. And oh, wait, you can't read them unless there's a legal disclaimer attached.
So let's just look at Trend Micros, which again just crack me up, right? So the information provided herein is for general information and educational purposes only. The only thing they didn't put in there was entertainment purposes, and once we get into those, you'll find that they are pretty entertaining. It is not intended and should not be construed to constitute legal advice. The information contained herein may not be applicable to all situations and may not reflect the most current situation. Nothing contained herein should be relied on or acted upon without the benefit of legal advice based upon the particular facts and circumstances presented, and nothing herein should be construed otherwise. Trend Micro reserves the right to modify the contents of this document at any time without prior notice. So basically, when we totally screw them up, we will just change them. And our lawyers said that's okay.
You're missing the best part. So if you actually click, and that's where my eyeballs are, you click on it. So they have a prediction. The invisible becomes visible. Okay, I'll click on it. And what happens is I get the legal disclaimer, and I have a little X box to close the legal disclaimer. Okay, let me do that. I should get my article after that, right?
Right.
No, I'm back to the page in every one of the boxes. So either they don't know how to code for Safari, which is considered a moderately popular browser these days.
I'm on
Or Firefox.
Aviator. And I finally got to one. Okay.
Oh, I did get to one. Me too.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have to do. I think like the fifth time I clicked it, we got it. Anyway, and the prediction themselves are, I mean, as you're going to see, these kind of get, you know, the invisible becomes visible. So, oh no, that's a legal disclaimer again. Sorry. Uh, Darknet, more criminals will turn to dark nets to share attack tools, stage attacks, and market stolen goods. I don't know how you get more of everybody. Because
Here's my surprised look.
but I am surprised. They all do that already.
Of course.
Like how is that?
Oh wait, hold on. Here's a new one. An exploit kit that specifically targets Android users will surface. Really?
There will
Haven't
be
seen that
bolder
one.
hacking attempts as cyber activity increases. I mean, did they write this? They must have written this before Sony, before Target, before the attacks on the banks, before the attacks on various
Hold on.
governments, before
Breaking
Saudi
news.
Aramco. I mean, how do you get bolder than what we're seeing right now with this?
Breaking news. We will see more attempts to exploit vulnerabilities in open source apps.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and keep a note on that one because we found that one on almost every set of predictions. Uh,
Oh, God.
yeah,
All rights reserved. Yeah, since there's such unique things here that you got to have the all rights reserved on the bottom of the page. All right,
So,
Trend Micro, fail.
Fail.
let's map this. I got the year off, but I'll move the window over so we can make eye contact here. My 2011 security prediction. So I think you might have been you were with us, Mike.
Yes, yeah.
So these were my 2011 predictions. Someone will predict a big cyber attack someplace that may or may not happen. So I did believe that one's been correct for every year since 2011. Somebody will predict a big SCADA attack failure someplace that probably won't happen, but I suppose it's still possible. We still haven't seen it. It's probably going to happen someday.
And
It's
it
been
is still
predicted
possible.
every year since 2009. Yeah,
It's still possible.
it's still possible. That one will probably happen at some point. Apple will do something that big enterprises won't adopt, but then they will. Yeah, that's worked out pretty well for us.
Everything.
Someone will predict some tech will die, which is usually when a lot of people will buy it. I don't know. Might have gotten that one wrong. Was anything predicted to die in 2014, Mike?
Knack.
Sim.
Knack. That's right. Knack is still being bought. Sim is still being bought. I probably did see some. I don't know if did people really predict the end of Simming?
Because of malware, we were starting to hear some
Yeah.
of that noise on Twitter.
Really more the evolution of SIM that, kind of events are dead and, you need packets and all that kind of stuff.
Signatures are dead.
Yeah, events not dead. Signatures aren't dead. Indicators of compromise are just, newfangled signatures in a fancy XML format. So,
New with metadata.
Let's see. Number 5. Most people will renew every security product currently in their environment, no matter how well they work or don't.
Yes. Well, Rich, at least you were going out on a limb with these. Like everybody.
6. Somebody will predict that this time it's really the year mobile attacks happen and steal everyone's money and naked photos off their phones. Holy crap!
That was good.
Year. That was it.
Good
It took
one.
4 years.
That's right. J-Lo.
Won't Wait. It probably won't happen, but oh no, I nailed it. Even if it does, the headlines will talk about iPhone, even if it only affects Motorola StarTACs. Apple did get the blame for all the naked pictures, even though only some of them were taken from there. So I don't know, maybe that's a stretch. I'll give myself a 60% on that one, 70%, since eventually the naked photos did get stolen. So
Oh, and they were
that's
quite
pretty
naked.
funny. That was a 2011. All right. 7. Vendors will scare customers into thinking 20 new regulations are right around the corner, all of which will require their products. There's one we'll get to. Somebody predicted EUT data protection directives will pass this year, but I have seen less of that one this past year.
Well, compliance is, old news, man.
Yeah. So,
Unless you need to pay for something, then it's your best friend.
8. There'll be a lot of I'm showing my age on this one. This is what you get when you don't actually update your predictions. There will be a lot of predictions with the word social networking 2.0, consumerization, Justin Bieber, and whatever the hell else is trending on Twitter the day they write the predictions. BYOD and Internet of Things would be the 2014 version. What do you think?
APT. Still get some APT.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
We're still getting some APT.
The fragmentation of APT. Because
Point of
Persky
scale.
tells us it's the fragmentation of APT.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
UPT
Kaspersky.
army.
And point of sale.
Yeah. That's legitimate though. I mean that you don't need too many predictions about point of sale because they've been owned pretty bad. That's a legit.
Yeah, I'm predicting they'll still be owned pretty bad.
I concur. Anytime there's major number 9 global event or disaster, I will receive at least 8 press releases from vendors claiming bad guys are using it for spam or phishing. Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm getting a lot of this year is offers to talk to somebody I've never heard of
oh yeah.
that that is a so-called expert in whatever the nonsense is of the day. Yeah, I've yet to take them up on it. Although part of me wants to set up a briefing and just basically play opera. Once we get onto the phone, just for like 20 minutes of just opera and just see how long they stay on, just being trolled. But honestly, that way that requires too much effort, so I haven't gotten around to doing that yet.
Yeah, well, by the way, guys, we all get these same ones, and we're not talking about like it's the CEO of some company and it's a new CEO. I mean, literally have never heard of these people within the
Yeah. Some
industry.
some
We don't know
some
their
lawyer that got
companies.
out of some lawyer that got out of university or law school like 3 years ago is some world renowned expert on kind of the legal implications of Jennifer Lawrence's boobies being shown on kind of CNN, right?
Yeah.
And then I just was able to say Jennifer Lawrence's boobies on the video cast. So
And you got it without
my
smiling
day is
too. It was
complete.
good.
Yeah, my day is complete.
Yeah. And then the other one that has been, um, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one on those quotes. So uh, the other one that we've got that I had a lot of fun with this year, and I'm not going to name names on this one because it just I'm not going to do it. There's one particular vendor. So when Heartbleed came out, they had this massive campaign about how their customers were fully protected from Heartbleed because of their proprietary technology instead of being open source and all this other stuff. And I sat with them, I'm like, you really should not do this. What do you mean? We blah, 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 our customers are fine. I go, yeah, but you dodged a bullet. Just a coincidence that you didn't happen to be using, OpenSSL in this particular product, and the next time it might be something that affects you. Really pissed off one person in there. They staked a lot on this and everything else. Yeah, guess what happened when Shell Shock hit? All over the headlines because it was one of the
Nailed.
most vulnerable products on the market because of it. And so we see a lot of that. Like, we would have protected you. If you bought our product before the hack and use it exactly perfectly and according to our recommendations on every single point of your network and every one of your endpoints, we could have stopped that breach. And yet, all of those products get nailed at some point for basically failing to stop breaches. So I saw a lot. I do feel like I felt more of that this year than in previous years. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got
Number
I've got
10.
I've got nothing on that one. But I mean, besides to go back to the whole karma thing, and all these guys that kind of trade in this ambulance chasing, breach chasing nonsense. It comes around, and it always does, and I always laugh, right? Because you could see it happening from a mile away, right? And remember Flame, one of the whitelisting vendors, like, oh, we could stop Flame all the time. Yeah, unless you don't actually have it installed on your own servers, right? So again, it's one of these things where folks really shouldn't mess with the karmic gods, because it will come back and bite you in the security industry ass.
That's why we don't do the predictions. We make fun of them. We make fun of our own because ours are not meant to be, kind of taken seriously. We do occasionally talk about big trend stuff.
Right, but the funny thing is, Rich, about all those predictions, they were a lot more accurate than most, and the joking ones that you put together are better than most of the other nonsense that we see out there. I mean, do we want to beat up Kaspersky? Do we want to hit on these guys we never heard of at
the guys we've never heard of?
Ricks? Oh yeah. All right, so let's do that.
Wait. Let me finish off with the last three though.
Oh, go ahead.
Botnet
Oh, you
will
got
be the
more.
biggest is number 10. There was a big botnet. The Securusys disaster recovery breakfast at RSA will totally rock. It was quite off the hook this year, and this next one is looking pretty solid. And then the last one is someone will predict cloud computing will cause and fix all these other problems. So that was the suggestion from one of our readers, PW Power Cycle. So there we go.
By the way, that we're probably the guys that are saying the cloud will both break and fix everything. So.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. So it's fine. It's easy to make your predictions accurate when you're predicting your own behavior.
Yes.
All right, Mike, what were you bringing up next?
No, I was going to go with these Netrix guys who I've
Yeah,
actually
they're
never heard of. And by the way, we've mentioned them like 2 or 3 times already, which is probably 2 or 3 more mentions than they get anywhere doing anything. But these guys have some solid predictions. Security and the cloud. Uh, more data is moved into the cloud, the market's focus on cloud security will increase.
That sounds familiar.
that was a risk.
Yeah.
Talking
Really?
about going out on a
You know,
limb.
the ability to view audit trails for configuration is important. You know, uh, oh, oy. That's all. That's all I got. Oy.
This is the one that
Another
needed
one.
the legal disclaimer, right? This is the one that needed to advise
It
people to
should.
not take
Oh,
this
but
seriously.
here's the other one, Rich. You're gonna love this one, right? So the Internet of Things is expanding. From smart TVs to Wi-Fi connected light bulbs. They require proper management as well as security policies and provisions. Because Lord knows, if I flicker your light bulb, you may think it's a poltergeist at any moment, and go crazy and have to have an exorcism in your own house.
They could hit them with a cyber attack, and then they would like explode and sparks would fly out. I saw that on an episode of Arrow I watched on Netflix a few days ago.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it happens on TV
In
all the time.
2015, man, it's gonna happen. Honestly, if somebody wants to take over my fridge, have at it, man. Have at it.
The beers in the what? The beers out in the
Here's
garage.
in the out one, and you know what? I know what's important, so there's no fucking way I'm connecting my beer fridge to the internet. I'm not taking any chances with that, right? The food, the hell with the food. Go get it, right? The beer, no way.
It's a risk-adjusted defense strategy. We got it.
Yeah, we're eating our own dog food here. We protect what's important.
Yeah. Any other ones in there we need to cover, Mike, or
Oh,
is that?
security in the next generation security platforms. Isn't that recursion? We predict there will be more vendors in the information security industry talking about integration, security analytics, and the leveraging of big data. God, we should have recorded this in the afternoon and just, I mean, honestly, I'd have to do a keg stand with the number of buzzwords those guys put into that one, right? Integration, security analytics, and the leveraging of big data. I just give up. Where's my crack? I just spark up the crack, get the meth pipe going, and we'll be done.
And that one cracks me up because I mean, apparently they've never been to RSA and they didn't walk the show floor 2 years ago when those were the big trends and everybody was already talking about it. I mean, like these guys aren't even predicting the future and they're not even being funny. They are literally predicting the past
Yeah, yeah.
with complete accuracy. Just yeah, okay.
Okay, so the quote is the best. The second half of the quote from the CEO. IT professionals should be armed with mission critical information on what security threats they might face and be prepared to defend against them in advance. Who the hell writes these things? Who the hell writes these things? Unbelievable. So congratulations, Mr. Netrix. Your predictions suck.
Despite being perfectly accurate.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Adrian, do you want to take the Kaspersky ones? And this one's kind of hard sometimes because remember, guys, we have friends in a bunch of
they're
these
friends.
companies. They may have been involved writing these. I don't know, but yeah.
Actually, I don't have them in front of me right now. I
Oh,
was
I
actually focused still on the
Oh, I do.
continued
They're pretty
anything.
straightforward. Cyber criminals merge with APT groups and tactics.
Does
I
that
don't
mean
e-
the
I
NSA is
don't
giving away threats?
I don't even know what that means. Cyber criminals
I
merge
did read it. What they mean is that the Russian cyber hackers are. I don't know how they're going to merge with the Chinese, state-sponsored ones. That I don't get. And they're going to adopt similar techniques. Like, yeah,
Well, they've been doing that for a while, right? Again, this
whatever
is
works
more
works.
looking into but the APT groups have been, hanging false flags on all sorts of different people for, I mean, years. That's nothing new. I mean, anonymous is usually the easiest one to go after on that front, but you bet they look like the Russian business network if they need to.
Yeah, but they're actually predicting that the groups will work together, and I don't know.
They've already been doing that. They've been sharing intel and malware samples for how long?
Well, no. The Russians and the Chinese pieces.
Oh yeah, sure, that's going to happen.
But of course, the next prediction is APT groups also will fragment,
Yes.
attacks increase, and diversify.
So just in case we're wrong on the first one, we'll be right on this one.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Um,
I'll see. I just want to bang my head against the wall. Keep going. We're having fun here.
New
Right?
bugs and old widely used code. So this is going back to Heartbleed and Shell
Windows
Shock. What?
and Windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
New
Windows.
bugs in old code. Windows. Okay. Thank you.
Um, yeah.
I have a
Open
prediction.
source was the darling. Now it's
There
no longer the
will be
darling.
there will be new bugs in Windows XP embedded in 2015. Mark my words.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. And by the way, that prediction is multiple of these that we've gone through
Yeah.
are predicting that you're going to find bugs in old software. This is good because it is better than finding bugs in future software.
I think I have an IPS that will detect future attacks. Right?
Yes,
It
we
gets me
we
ahead
nailed
of the
DNS.
threat.
Yes, we're nailing SSL and all of these other things. I mean, and yes, it's problematic, but it hasn't changed. Look at all the Java issues and Oracle and everything else. I don't know. Yeah, and
I
like you
bet I
said,
bet Oracle wishes they would have had some of these predictions before they bought Sun, right? Because the prediction would have been, now you're in the instant patching business and it really sucks. So think twice before buying that old crappy hardware company.
I'll have to tell you guys, I recently had a conversation with a former Oracle person who was there during the whole their software assurance program, and he was just shaking his head about just how, yeah. Let's just say apparently it is not as well organized as trustworthy computing is over at Microsoft. The rise of Apple malware that has been predicted every year for a while, and there's been a little bit. I mean, maybe there'll be more.
So
But
so here's the raffle or the pool that we should start. Will 2015 be the year of Apple malware or the year of PKI? Because I think both of them have been mentioned as often, every year as it's finally going to happen. And now with the cloud stuff, it really could be the year of PKI. Who knows?
well, here it is.
IoT, PKI.
Kaspersky Labs experts are betting the increased market share for OS 10 devices could finally attract the attention of attackers. Like nobody's bought these things and these things at Max, and now they're just going to pay attention. There's other aspects of that ecosystem. We've talked about that ad nauseum there. I'm not saying there's not ever going to be OS 10 malware or even iOS malware. The wire lurker thing, that's a very interesting path of exploitation. But the one thing I've always said is, for mass markets to exist, you have to have a certain degree of economics, and the decisions Apple have made are really make it difficult for those economics to develop properly.
It's
So,
also relative, right?
yeah,
So you look at iOS, and is it perfect? Of course not, but it's a lot more solid than Android, and therefore I'm going to go towards the path of least resistance, and I think the same thing applies on the OS X side of the house, right? Can you do it? Sure, right? But is the path of least resistance another path? Absolutely.
yeah, and therefore, attackers seeking to hijack OS 10 systems could find success by bundling their malware with pirated software. That has been going on since I first started covering Apple security back in like 2007. I mean that has been the major way. Pirated software, um, porn with fake video players, and a couple of other things. That's the only place that they've ever gotten really widespread footholds beyond. There's that kind of one little attack that used some drive-by stuff that's been shut down because it was Java based. So I mean that's predicted in the past, guys. And look, every antivirus vendor keeps predicting Mac and iOS and has predicted it every year in the past. You will be right someday. I mean that's the way these things work. That's the way my predictions work. If you make the same prediction year over year and you're not accountable for the past, you're going to be right eventually, probably in security because eventually something goes wrong. But yeah,
We're still waiting for the year of PKI.
yeah.
How many of these predictions have had the word continued in the title? Those are great.
What's next? Targeting ticketing machines comes out of South America. Hotspot for cyber. That actually, there's a lot been going on down there. But that's again, that's been going on for a long time.
Skip down to Apple Pay. That's the interesting one.
Yes.
Apple
right?
Pay in the crosshairs. I'll let you rip this apart because I'm usually too much.
Well, yeah, all right. So you're kind of the fanboy and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of obvious things, okay, new payment system, controlling money, millions of people using this thing. Yeah. You know what's interesting, and that just goes back to the power of Apple branding. No one said 2 years ago, Square in the crosshairs, right?
No, no, no,
Square's
no. VeriSign did.
did
Did
they?
they?
Or
Yes.
you're just lying? Are you making
No,
that up?
no. VeriSign did this whole thing. Was it VeriSign or no, no, not VeriSign.
Verifone.
Verifone or one of those guys. They made all these predictions about
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it.
About how their competitor is going to have huge problems, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Oh
y-
yeah, no, it wasn't a
but
year-end thing, but they did a whole
again,
big report
it's
about it.
just to me that just goes back to yeah, I'm going to try to jump on the Apple bandwagon and say something like obvious, like, oh, yeah, people who are trying to steal money are going to go after a new payment, system. Okay.
Yeah.
Criminal hackers tend to attack popular platforms where the yield is likely high. Who writes it? Lawyers? That's a lawyer. That's a lawyerish statement. Where the yield is likely high. No, I'm going to spend lots of resources where the yield is crap.
And the economics of that, like, okay, you get my payment token, or and first of all, if you hit the point of sale terminals and you can get malware on those, that affects every payment form, so it has nothing to do with Apple Pay. If you're able to get low enough, and actually less to do with Apple Pay because the card number is ever exposed, just the one-time device IDs, and those device IDs are easily rotatable. I
Yep.
mean, there's just
So getting back to my refrigerator, Kaspersky ends with compromising the Internet of Things. And here's the quote, right? In 2015, there will surely be in the wild attacks against network printers and other connected devices that can help an advanced attacker maintain persistence and lateral movement within a corporate network.
so. I wrote research when I was still at Gartner over 7 years ago about multifunction devices and risk of those because they have Unix operating systems. A large number of pen testers I know use those to compromise parts of organizations and maintain persistence. I mean that's been done. It just hasn't been done in a widespread malware kind of a way, but targeted, most certainly. Especially because those things are usually leased out. You hire some other company to come in and give all your multifunction devices.
All right, and if you're a legal firm or any of those other folks that trade in paper and make copies all over the place, all that stuff is digitized, sitting there on whatever the device is. So, again, master of the obvious there.
And I don't even think network connected printers is what people mean when they're talking about Internet of Things these days.
Nest
So
and
yeah,
drop cam.
yeah.
So I can see a picture of you. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see Adrian's Yule log, on his drop cam.
Dude, did you just talk about Adrian's Yule log? We haven't been drinking.
Win.
All right.
We
All
got an
right.
Adrian Yule log reference in there. And Jennifer Lawrence's boobies. I'm full of wind
You
today.
are on fire.
I am full of wind today.
This up for when our video editor goes to post it. What do I say? What do I tell him? JT, don't watch this. You'll.
God, my face is as red as your beard, Rich. What the hell's up with that?
And then that's my internet controlled, my Internet of Thing lights. Here you go. Somebody just hacked me, and oh, the camera adjusts too well to the changing lighting conditions in my office.
Are
All
you
right.
actually messing with your lights
Yeah, yeah,
via your iPhone?
yeah.
In his SCADA system.
What's really cool is it's one of the drop screen plug-in things, and so I can just slide down. It's the Philips Hue lights and change the tone. So here's the blue tea
Oh, I
house.
see. Yeah.
Here's the sunset. Nice little sunset in my office.
And there goes half of our listenership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and no, it's cool. I only put it in my office, so we don't have it anywhere else in the house.
Because you can.
Yeah, well, the dimmers, you can't. They're not very compatible with dimmers because it's designed to dim itself. And if you use a dimmer on these lights, as soon as you dim down, they just shut off. And anything, so I do a lot of home automation stuff, and my rule of thumb is anything I'm going to do throughout the house, it has to function as if it's going to be a normal house with the home automation stuff layered on top of it. So if you walk up to a thermostat, you hit the buttons, it should change the temperature. If you go to a light switch and it's a dimmer and you adjust the dimmer, the light should actually dim. And so that means can't use them anywhere. My office, I don't care because it's just me in here. There you go. More than you wanted to know.
Yeah.
All right.
I was hoping that you'd go up to the thermostat and be able to print something out on your printer, but I mean, maybe that's just me.
I could wire that. There's cool stuff like my office. I have trouble with the temperature because there's no thermostat in here, and then so I just put a wireless one in there, and I have some programming that can synchronize so I can adjust the main house temperature for my office, stuff like that. It's nifty.
So when Rich says he's been really, really busy doing all sorts of things,
10-year project. Okay, I even moved this stuff from an old house to this one. Anyway, we're boring people. Last set of predictions, Adrian. The predictions from a Euro perspective. So you want to hit these ones?
You mean the one about everybody in Ukraine being a hacker?
Is that one in there? There's the aging open source and core OS vulnerabilities continue. We just talked about that because that was in two other predictions, both Trent and Kaspersky. New ways of working, cloud adoptions, not showing any signs of slowing. We will likely see a major cloud or SaaS provider breach that will wake everyone up to the security risk. Yeah. All right.
I mean, here's what the thing that they didn't really hit on that one is kind of how the jurisdictional issues continue to impact kind of cloud stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and this Microsoft case we've talked about previously.
Yeah. Right. New ways of working. No kidding, right? But what's the impact of that? That you got to keep your data in one jurisdiction to keep the worker councils off your ass.
There was a nugget here. Now, admittedly, these guys sell encryption, so they're biased, but we'll likely see all serious IaaS providers offering a baseline and advanced service set for encryption tools for enterprise customers. Yeah, I actually think I definitely see trends moving there. It's not something most people realize is going on. Microsoft's adding more. Amazon's got a ton. Google's got some of that built in. But the real trend there is now becoming more around bring your own key management, which is a really interesting set of issues. We'll probably talk about it another time. Financial sector under increased attack. No, yeah, that's it.
It's funny, right? Because if you click, there's another link here, which is actually the CEO's predictions, and surprisingly enough, for an encryption company, one of the predictions is encrypt everything. Leading SaaS solution providers offer enhanced native data security. Right, encryption as a service. Are these the predictions you're going to your board meeting with? Going, please don't shoot me in the head, because look, all of our predictions are saying, our business is going to be great.
Here's the reason we get so frustrated with this stuff. So, first of all, almost all of these they offer nothing to the discussion. They almost never tell you anything that is actionable on your part. Any predictions, and this goes back to Gartner Day. And by the way, I used to make these mistakes when I was still in my late 20s and first starting to be an analyst. I would make predictions about this was going to get breached or that was going to get breached. And the thing is you're wrong until you're right, because eventually those breaches happen. It doesn't help somebody focus their actual efforts. It does nothing to help them from a risk perspective. It does, at the end of the year, nobody ever goes back and grades themselves on whether they're right or wrong. With these, we see the same predictions in many cases year over year over year, and then weird justifications around that. It's always been the year of mobile malware. Yeah, there's been a lot of mobile malware in different areas and sorts. You have no nuance associated with that. And when they say the year of mobile malware, they almost always mean iPhones, and yet we haven't seen any mass malware on iPhones. And so it doesn't help anybody get their job done, for one thing. It's not. I mean, it's great for us for an entertainment perspective. Rarely do these predictions are they thought out of in large mega trends that tell people how their lives are going to be different. And so we've done some stuff. I did the future of security. I was actually, I debated with you guys and others about it. Do I even write something about this? And that was, a year or two ago, because, it's these big mega trends and how that will play things out. But that was like this, here's how I think things are going to go over 10 years. And I even said in there, it's going to be, it's definitely not going to be right, but here are the trends, and if you follow those trends and you believe those are true, and I try to justify them, this is where it can kind of lead you in terms of practice. And so far, they've been relatively accurate. We'll see how they hold up over time. I'm not claiming that it's going to be this is what you're going to see next year. What do you need to worry about next year? I mean, the same stuff you worried about this year, because January 1 doesn't change the course of time. It's just another day, and even though we like to put these endpoints in things, everything that went on last year and the year before, it's just a trend.
Today I watch football. That's what January 1st is. as opposed to every other Sunday and most Saturdays through the year.
Yeah, things I used to be able to do before I had so many
It gets
children.
better. It gets better.
I know, and
And
actually I
then
used to just sleep.
Ryan will want to sit with you and watch football.
That'll be nice. The girls might. Come on, I just took them to
That's true.
college.
My girls do. My girls do.
Yeah,
They
they
will.
yeah. All right, guys. You have anything else that's the rant? But I mean, that's why we make fun of these things because really, there's no way to do them right. There's no way to do these right. These annual kind of prediction things. If you companies you want to do something, do a look past on the year, what you saw, what was changed, and where that might head next year. That is far more useful and relevant, and to be honest, an interesting read. I mean, some of these are interesting people writing these things that I think are capable of that. But that's not what we tend to get every year.
No, because it's PR chum. It's as simple as that, right? A lot of the knuckleheads that sit in the corner office kind of say, "Oh, these other guys did predictions. Why don't we?" So it just becomes one of these things where you have to do it just to do it. As you said, doesn't really add a lot of value. Very frustrating for folks like us. Again, if you're trying to make a case for something like encryption as a service or like the cloud is going to be important, then some of these things can be useful because you can excerpt from a whole bunch of different stuff to, substantiate your case. But again, this is about stuff you already know that you just want to substantiate, as opposed to actually learning something, and that's the frustrating thing for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll give you. I mean, here's some stuff we're seeing in our areas. For example, talking about cloud and encryption, that there is this increased trend for bringing your own keys, and it turns out, from a technical perspective, that's actually really difficult to do. Because if the provider the main reason a lot of people want to do this is to like NSA proof or subpoena proof their data when it's in a cloud provider. And the problem is the key is always going to be exposed at some point. And so I know what the vendors are working on. I know some of the stuff that's might even be out at this point in time. A lot of it's in beta testing. I think it's some really interesting stuff to get great separation of duties to really enhance the security of your products. But however, and we're going to see that roll into more and more services over the course of the next few years. But I think a lot of people actually underestimate the complexity of that. And so, what a lot of people probably need to look for is if you're really worried about, the NSA or somebody getting into your stuff, you have to encrypt on your end so the cloud provider can never see your keys. All encryption decryption has to happen away from an external third party because then the subpoena comes to you. And if you want to just encrypt your data in a way so that it's protected from your cloud provider, there's some really good approaches that are now emerging around that. So everything from what I don't know, it's not released yet, so I can't talk about. But one of the cloud providers that we work with who does SaaS stuff to Amazon and their key management service. So the interesting things there. So that's one way I think that is better to talk about these things. Mike, Adrian, anything you want to throw out for next year? Kind of an interesting trend that you think is going to come more in people's awareness, or should we just close it out because we've been pretty long?
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of activity around a couple of different, vectors, and I think we're going to continue to see, Adrian, there's my little, so we're going to continue to see more activity around the endpoint, right? Both from a prevention and a forensics perspective. There's some interesting technology that started to emerge in the second half of the year. To better, and again, I'm not going to say control malware, but better understand the patterns and try to get in the way of it, and then ultimately detect what happened on the device. And I think we're going to see a lot of progress on that front. Because it's almost impossible to protect these devices now. So we really have to start thinking differently about what we're going to do. So that's an area I'm going to be watching very closely. And the other thing that I'll throw in there is I do expect to see an implosion of the whole threat intelligence business. There's no way it can support the number of companies that are out there. At the end of the day, it's just data. Data needs to be pumped into somewhere where you can actually use it and make use of it. So I think the next generation threat intel provider is the folks that do a lot of the monitoring technology now. They're just going to take data in and apply it to what you're looking for, and then ultimately the active controls as well, both on the endpoint and on the network side, are going to leverage these kind of threat intel indicators to more accurately and quickly identify what's happening in your environment.
Yeah, what is there, 50 different threat intel vendors out there now? Yeah.
Yeah, but at least, I mean, that was a little bit of a joke, but there are at least 20 distinct companies doing different aspects of that. And again, that's kind of like saying in the heyday, Rich, you'll remember this, right? When there were 20 DLP vendors
Yep.
and the whole market was like 50 million bucks. Same damn thing, right? Same damn thing.
Don't call it a prediction, call it a trend. And I hate using the term because there's only one vendor I think that really uses it. But this concept of risk-based analysis, so taking a little bit of what Mike's talking about on the side of threat intel, as well as other things, metadata, behavioral data, geolocation, and do some more of these risk-based analysis for identity, for authorization. We're seeing it more for fraud analytics. But basically, because we're starting to see so many services consumed through mobile and other external platforms, the ability to actually define who's doing what becomes a little more difficult. And so just being able to take additional metrics and an additional different look at how you allow people to access stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, these aren't like predictions of, us being smart in our brains. It's, for the most part, we know what people are, some of this is based on things that we know are coming. So when we talk about these particular products, because they're in the works already with people that we work with, and we see it across a big, a multiple of our customer base or other vendors that are talking with us, whether or not they're customers. And so that gives us a pretty reasonable picture of, kind of the products and things that are going to pop out over the next year. And clearly, there's a lot more going on the cloud security front. Aside from just the encryption pieces, monitoring is becoming the other big area there. Right now, Amazon's the only one that gives you any insight into what your administrators are doing with the cloud infrastructure itself. Everybody else, you got to basically portal off, and yet there's no real good portals for you to do that. You for the most part, got to use open source, code it yourself, or there's a couple of vendors out there that do that. And so we're now seeing, I know one other major vendor has got something in beta that somebody that should be coming out soon to give you the kind of equivalent monitoring that Amazon's doing on the infrastructure. But like I was doing some work recently with multiple large enterprise clients, but another one, project I was working on last week that, they really are desperate to get more visibility into what's going on, but on the same time, they don't fully understand when they first start these projects where they need to focus that visibility. They think they just need the network taps, and that model doesn't translate, and people are starting to realize where they need to change kind of their efforts in terms of the kinds of data you need to collect in cloud, and then the holes with the cloud providers who are now all just stepping over themselves to try and kind of figure it out because they didn't architect to provide that level of visibility, and that's something that customers are really demanding. For monitoring purposes and in a very reasonable way. So I think that monitoring piece is probably the bigger trend. The bring your own key thing is one that's interesting that I just mentioned because it was being talked about. But the encryption aspects, there's a lot of the SaaS vendors in particular are being pushed pretty hard on that one. All right, that's as good as we're going to get.
Especially since we're not in the prediction business.
Yeah. Look, everyone, we got a big year coming ourselves. Stuff we can't even talk about. Believe it or not, we're actually a business too, and do all try and make money to feed our families. And so it'll be interesting. I think we're in for a very interesting ride over the next year. Are just the three of us on this call. We're going to see how any of our plotting comes out to play. And otherwise, we got RSA coming up a little later this year than usual because of is it every 5 years they have to do that?
Yeah, it may be permanent. I mean, it's hard to get the amount of space they need in San Francisco now. It's hard to get.
Oh, I hope it's not permanent. That's my freaking birthday. I do not want to be spending that at RSA every year.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so that's going to be the next kind of big thing where we see everybody, as well as so there will be the disaster recovery breakfast. And RSA's got some interesting stuff coming out. So I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. But the conference, I'm sure the company's got stuff too. But the conference piece, but with that coming up in April, that's where a lot of people are focused. And I just want to thank everybody for listening and watching. Every year, I can't believe that we get to do what we do, and that this is how I get to make my living. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's the best job in the world because that might involve some sports franchise or entertainer thing, but we got pretty good jobs. And if you didn't read and our stuff and watch our stuff, that would never happen. Anybody else? Year-end thoughts?
What you said, Rich, having done a lot of things through the years, I am very aware of how good it is that we have it in terms of what we do, how we do it, the relationships that we have both with our clients and our listeners and readers. Just it's a couple weeks after Thanksgiving, but we certainly do owe everybody a huge thanks for supporting us and providing feedback to us and allowing us to do what we do in the way that we do it. Right, dropping f-bombs in video casts is maybe a little unconventional way to go about things, but that's us, and that's what we do, and that's what our business reflects. And the fact that you guys show up, year after year, read our stuff, help us, do what we do. Again, that's something that we are certainly both thankful and grateful for.
I got nothing to follow that. Nothing. Thanks for listening. Happy holidays.
And hey,
see you guys soon.
We're all going to blow a lot of money on movie tickets this next year. We got the Avengers, we got Star Wars, we got Hobbit, whatever. That's the end of this year. But
I'm buying the DVD of Adrian's Yule log.
Available now.
Available now.
Don't download it; you'll get Mac malware. All right, everyone. Happy holidays. We will talk to you in 2015.
You bet. Be safe.